Kemi Badenoch, President Trump endorsed the Chagos deal in May. Now that the UK isn't giving the US what it wants on Greenland, he's reversed his position. You're praising him on Chagos while he threatens a fellow NATO ally and the UK on tariffs. How is that in Britain's best interest?
Unfortunately for the Prime Minister, Donald Trump is right on the Chagos deal. This is surrendering British territory with a strategic military base on it for no reason whatsoever. It weakens our country. It is not in the national interest. It is a good deal for China and Russia. And the worst part is we're paying £35 billion of reparations to give away territory which we bought in the 1960s. That is wrong. President Trump has made some decisions which I agree with and others which I disagree with. What matters is what is in the British national interest. If President Trump does something that is great for us in the UK, I will agree. If he does things which are not good for the UK, I will disagree. But the most important thing is British national interest.
President Trump has said that the handling of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius is an act of great stupidity. Is he right?
Well, I have been talking about this for a year. We have been practically screaming at Labour to stop this deal. It was negotiated by the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, and Jonathan Powell. It is a bad deal for the UK. There is actually no reason whatsoever for them to be giving this territory away. In government, we stopped talks with Mauritius. They said they wanted to talk. We had a conversation with them, and we said, no thanks, we're not doing it. Labour get into office, and they give away the territory, and worse than that, they pay £35 billion to do so.
Is it now time to increase defence spending much faster, given that the US is increasingly seen by many as an unreliable ally?
We need to... sorry, let me start again. Just got to swallow it. We need to increase defense spending. Irrespective of what the US is doing, we can see that the world is becoming much more dangerous. There is an axis of authoritarian states, Iran, Russia, North Korea. They're doing so much to destabilize the world. This is not the time for us to pretend that it is 1995. Defense spending has been decreasing since 1985, pretty much year on year until the war in Ukraine. It is now time for us to increase spending. And I have told Keir Starmer that I will work with him, the Conservative Party will work with the government in order to find the money to pay for defence, and the first place we should start is by cutting welfare spending.
In your view, should the UK expel US forces from British bases in retaliation to President Trump's threat of tariffs?
No, I think that would be the wrong thing. America is still our closest military ally. What we need right now is a Prime Minister who can speak to Donald Trump and make sure he gets a good deal for the UK. What we should not be doing is escalating tension with the US. We already have enough problems as it is. Let's not create more.
On defections, last week you said after Robert Jenrick's defection that you were confident there would be no more defections. Then we had Andrew Rosendale. I ask, are you still confident there'll be no more defections to reform?
I said there would be no defections from the shadow cabinet. That has not happened. The person who left this week was not a member of the shadow cabinet. And what I do see is a stronger and more united team. If people are not team players, then they don't belong in my team. The Conservative Party is a group of people who care about this country, and we're working for national interest, not self-interest.
Nigel Farage said Andrew Rosendale would not be the last MP to put country before parties before the May 7th deadline. What's your response, and who else in your party is on defection watch?
My response is that I'm talking about what matters to the country. How do we deal with the cost of living? How do we make sure that we spend money on defence? How do we deal with the threats our country faces? That's what I have press conferences about, where we get the money from. All Nigel Farage talks about is what's happening in his party and who's joining. He does not have a serious plan for this country.
And finally, on the water industry, do you accept that the Conservatives share responsibility for the current state of the water industry? Who should pay for it, and what will your party do to address it?
My party is looking very, very closely at how we can improve the state of the utilities in the UK. It is quite clear the standards are falling. We did quite a lot in terms of measuring what was going on in pollution. No one even knew what was happening until we started measuring it. And I think the measuring meant that others thought that we were creating those problems. But we are, again, still the only party that actually understands the water industry. We know that it is important that they succeed so that they can deliver clean, safe and cheap water to all the people in our country. And that's what we're fighting for.
Well, look, tariffs invariably impoverish those countries and citizens on which they're imposed. I think that would not be the right thing. We've got to take advantage of our economic relationship with the United States. But the realm for discussions about national security are through diplomatic channels, through the relationships we have. It's wrong to impose tariffs. They won't help either of our great economies. And on Greenland, I mean, the Prime Minister ought to apply his own advice to President Trump in respect of the Chagos Islands, a terrible, terrible deal that will undermine our national security, but also gives no voice to the people of Chagos.
You just mentioned the Chagos Islands deal there. President Trump put a post on his Truth Social this morning calling it an act of great stupidity, and seemed to imply that that played into his justification for taking Greenland. What's your take on that?
Well, I don't agree with President Trump on everything, but on that I absolutely do. It's a terrible deal. Conservatives have opposed this from the very beginning. The idea that we give sovereign UK territory to Mauritius, a country thousands of miles away that has never had responsibility for the Chagos Islands, and that hard-pressed British taxpayers would have to pay. It is a terrible deal. The government should think again, and Conservatives have been saying that since the very start.
With President Trump's stance on Greenland, he's technically threatening to invade a NATO ally. He's threatening to put tariffs on us and other European friends. Do we still have a special relationship with the US?
We have one of the closest relationships with the United States, both economically, where millions of British people and firms do business every day with the United States, but also in terms of intelligence sharing and our reliance on shared defence assets. So it is a very strong relationship. Now, not everything within that relationship the UK will agree on. Our party stands with the government in its stance on Greenland. There shouldn't be tariffs. We shouldn't get into an economic tit for tat on this issue. But on other issues like Chagos, the President of the United States is exactly right.
And just last one from me. So Trump sent a letter yesterday to the Prime Minister of Norway, which seemed to feel like he implied that he was justified in taking Greenland because he didn't win the Nobel Prize, and then now he's not as committed to peace. A lot of people looked at that and just thought that was ridiculous. If that is their thinking, can we actually negotiate with this administration?
No, this year is 250 years since the Declaration of Independence. That's all about the right of sovereign peoples. The same right should be extended to the people of Greenland and indeed to the people of the Chagos Islands.
Nigel Farage set a deadline of May the 7th for any more defections to reform from your party. It's entirely possible that there will be more. Is the party leadership actively trying to root out plotters like he did with Jenrick? Because that seemed to play quite well.
Look, the job of work of Conservative members of Parliament is to represent their constituents, hold this government to account, as we are, on things like unemployment rising today, the Chagos Islands deal, a terrible deal for the national security of this country, and to get on with that job.